Hey everybody, today we're going to go through lesson 3.3 from Algebra 1 here, and it's about slope, and you can learn slope 100 different ways. It's not something that you can avoid when you're in algebra class, or geometry for that matter, but I teach it just a little bit differently, so I don't know if that'll be a good thing for you or if that'll be a bad thing for you, but we'll just have to find out. Um, most of my students seem to make a little bit more sense of it the way I look at it. So give it a shot and see what happens. So anyway, I think you already know that slope is just how fast or how slow a line is going either up or down. You know, and the big key to it is that you have to read a line excuse me, like you read a book. As in, you're judging it from left to right. So, for instance, if you look at those graphs that are just below us, in the first graph, the slope is positive. In the second graph, the slope is negative. And then again, everything you know about rise over run, that still holds true. Okay, so if we look down over here, we look and the slope of this first line, if you were to take 2 points and you were to carefully look, you would find that to go from one to the other, if you were going to look at it from a rise over run perspective, you would have to rise by 2 and you would have to run by 1. So 2 over 1, which means the slope would be 2. Now, a lot of people get a little bit confused. So I want to give you another idea of what's going on, and maybe this will help clarify things. What if you pick those 2 points instead? Well, now you would have to go up 8. So your rise would be 8 and your run would be 4. But 8 divided by 4 is still 2. So no matter how you look at it, no matter what points you choose, the slope will be 2. Now, this next line, if you look from left to right, it's going down. It's still going down by 2 every time it goes to the right by 1. So it's still going to be 2. It's just going to be negative instead of positive. Then you look over here, and now we're in the groove of it. Now we look, and instead of 2 over 1, now it's going up 1 every time it goes over 2. So the slope is now 1/2. And then this last example is a little bit tougher because you have to actually pick the points for yourself. We didn't give you anything clear. I mean, if you look, we have here, and then you might have to wait and go all the way over to here. It's not as easy to pick out as maybe the other ones were. In this case, the rise is 3 and the run is 2. So the slope between those 2 points is 3 over 2. Now, I feel like people tend to do pretty well with just the basic concept of rise over run, especially when a graph is on your paper. But when you are given 2 points, that's when people get a little bit confused. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, there is a formula that helps you, and I'll use it once. I'll actually use it a couple times for you, but I don't use it generally speaking. I don't like it. I don't think it's the best way of doing it. There is one case we will go over today where it is important that you just have to know how to use it anyway, but we'll get back to that. Anyway, the way I judge slope is just by counting. So I'm actually going to do the last example first. If you were to go from 7 to 4, and I'm just thinking of someone going up and down on a number line. They started at 7, they went to 4. That means they went back by 3 spaces. So we're kind of thinking like a board game almost. Go back 3 spaces. Now, if you were to go from 3 to 5 on that same number line, you went up 2 spaces, or to the right, or however you want to look at your number line here. So from 7 to 4, you lost 3 spaces, and from 3 to 5, you gained 2. Slope is just the second number divided by the first. in this case, -3 over 2. That's it. So many people overthink it. There's not that much to think about. Okay, now we can go back to the first one, 21 to 1. You had $21, now you have $1. You just lost $20. And then -4 to +6. From -4 to +6, this one's a little bit tricky. You actually went up 10 because you had to go up 4 spaces just to get to 0 and then 6 more. If you were to take the second number and divide it by the first, -20 divided by 10, you would get a slope of -2. All right, last but not least, if you were to go from -1 to -3, you actually got more negative. You actually got 2 spaces more negative. And then from 8 to 16 is 8. So if you did the second number divided by the first number, you'd get -2 over 8. And we wouldn't leave it like that. We would call it -1 over 4. Okay, so as you can see, rise is the second number, run is the first. So as you think about rise over run and how it relates, it's the second number divided by the first number. Now again, just to make sure you know where I'm coming from, I do like doing an example using the slope formula so that you can see what's going on. And those of you who learned slope with a formula back in the day, you can make the connection. So let's do that. Let's call that first point x sub 1, y sub 1. And those are subscripts that are trying to help us sort out which point it is we're referring to. So the first point you label x sub 1, y sub 1. The second point you label x sub 2, y sub 2. So now when you plug it in, you're going to do 1 minus 21 over 6 minus, and then you have to plug in a -4, which is going to leave 2 negatives there. So that is going to change to a positive down there. It's going to become 6 plus 4, which is 10. 1 minus 21 is -20. And -20 divided by 10 is -2. So again, we got the exact same answer. We just have 2 different ways of looking at it. All right, now real quick, there are 3 special cases that you need to know about. Okay, so pay close attention. We have 3 special cases we need to know about. Special case number 1 looks like this. If you were to go from 7 to 7 on a number line, you didn't actually go anywhere. You went 0 spaces. And from 3 to 6, you went up 3. So 0 divided by 3, 0 divided by anything is just 0. So if you have a rise of 0 and a run of something other than 0, it means the slope is 0. And by the way, if you were graphing, then that would be your indicator that what we're dealing with here is a horizontal line because it doesn't rise. All right, now if we went to special case number 2, from 10 to -5, you just dropped by 15. And from 4 to 4, you went nowhere. So you get -15 divided by 0 and -15 divided by 0. Wait a second, your calculator doesn't do that. If you get your calculator out and you type in -15 divided by 0, it's going to give you an error. That's because you can't divide by 0. You can cut a pie into 8 pieces. You can cut a pie into 4 pieces. You can cut a pie into 12 pieces. You cannot cut a pie into 0 pieces. Some people say, well, what if you eat it all? Well, then it's 1 piece. It's in your stomach, but it's still 1 piece. Anyway, whenever the 0 is on bottom, it is undefined. Okay. Now, this last special case we're going to go over here, the last special case, this is the one time that I actually encourage you to use the formula. Now, This particular problem is actually number 16 on the back of your paper. Okay, so if you're wondering where I got it from, I made these special cases up. They were not on your paper initially. So if you're wondering where I got it from, this particular one was not just made up out of thin air by me. This one was actually number 16 from the back. And the way it works is this. They're telling you that the slope is going to be 1/2, and then they're giving you the 2 points. The problem is there is something missing from the point. You have to figure out what the missing piece is. And so, again, I don't like the formula. I've told you I don't like the formula, but this is the one time where I think you should probably use it. Because what we can do is we can set up an equation to find the missing piece. So here's what we'll do. We'll use the regular slope formula, 7 minus r over 6 minus -2 equals 1/2. And by the way, if there's a negative on the slope, just move the negative to the top. I mean, you could actually do the top or the bottom. I usually just use the top. Now we clean this up. 2 negatives right here, minus a -2 is the same as +2, so I get 7 minus r over 8 equals 1/2. Now, the reason I did that is because now I already remember how to do this. I can cross multiply. It's just a regular proportion. So I can do 8 times 1 equals, and then I can do 7 minus r times 2, which if you distribute would give you 14 minus 2r. Okay, now I'm going to bring that up a little bit because we have 2 more quick steps before we finish. And those 2 steps would be subtracting 14 from both sides. That would give you -6 equals -2r. And dividing by -2. You get r equals +3. So that is not the slope. That is the value that you would need to plug in for y that would make this thing work out. Okay, so we were solving for the missing letter. Okay, there are a lot of problems on the back like that, so make sure you were paying attention. Rewind if you have to. Anyway, I hope that helps you get going. Appreciate your time and hope to see you back here soon. Thanks a lot.